Welcome to Kenya International Sports Film Festival, the 8th edition held in Mombasa, Kenya, and really appreciate you joining and accepting this invitation. I'm sure with your busy schedule, but we're really grateful for you joining us. As someone who has redefined how sports is portrayed on the screen, how does it feel to be invited on this platform that celebrates the power of sports on the global cinema?
Well, first of all, thank you, Asif. It's an absolute honor to be here, and it's also very inspiring to be recognized by a platform like the Kenya International Sports Film Festival, um, where you understand the emotional power of sport. And I think more so, especially when, someone like you yourself, as who has lived that journey uh, across multiple disciplines, and what you've done for Kenya, representing uh, Kenya as the captain of the cricket team, and with so many memorable performances that I have actually personally seen. And also, I read that you played in the Davis Cup. I mean, this is exactly the kind of story that film, like we want to tell on film, right? Where sports becomes a metaphor almost for life.
Thank you. You took cricket, which is close to my heart, and turned into a huge human drama, Inside Age. I watched it personally and kept watching, even though it was getting late at night. It was so intriguing and so wonderful. How did you manage to bring the emotion and to the whole drama on that series?
Thanks so much. Thank you for your kind words. Look, cricket has always been very special for me, and I've mostly spectated. Obviously, I've not played anything professionally. I love playing cricket, but it's just with my buddies. And I've been a lifelong fan, especially I think of Test cricket, and that's because it sort of Test cricket captures the entire uh, spectrum of human emotions, right? Whether it's patience, tension, strategy, redemption. So, and it's all stretched over a good 5 days. So it brings you as a viewer through every possible feeling. And I think this uh, purist in me, like when the shorter, more commercial formats, league cricket sort of came along, I felt a bit disillusioned, I would say. And I mean, I get the financial and entertainment behind it, but I miss the poetry of the longer game. And for me, Inside Edge, in many ways, is was trying to reconcile these two things. And it was an ode to uh, the soul of cricket, but in an ironic way. Like I told it through the chaos and the glamour of league cricket. Um, and I always was trying to go to tell the final point about uh, Test cricket, right? Like, and so by the time we got to the third season, that's when it sort of came full circle when we returned to the longer format and with that India Pakistan storyline that we had. And after years of sort of, in the previous season, exploring the game's darker corners, we ended up sort of celebrating Test cricket. And how did I get these stories? To answer that, like, when I was researching and writing this initially, the show, and I met lots of people as part of the research, right? So it was players, rookies, coaches, management. And they were told me such incredible stories that I could only perhaps use 10% of it I had to really water them down. And I could only use a small part of it to make it believable almost. And it was so layered. There's so much going on. And it's not, I mean, what was happening behind the scenes was really not about just money or power. There's so much more ambition and emotions and the need to, just be relevant. And it was very fertile ground for me to sort of cover in what we were writing.
Well, congratulations on Inside Age being the first Indian web series to be nominated in the Emmys. Now, of course,
Mm.
cricket is huge in India, but you also captured the global audience on this series. And how do you feel about the whole thing?
I was absolutely surprised and shocked when that happened because it came out of nowhere. Like I still remember we were in the middle of shooting the second season, and someone from the cast just mentioned it. I thought they were just, pulling up prank, to be honest, because no Indian series had ever been there before. It didn't register as anything that could be real, but it turned out to be true, and suddenly, we were just inundated by all sorts of texts and uh, from well-wishers. And and I don't know, yeah, it's for a story that's so deeply rooted in sport that's played in such few countries to have resonated with a very global jury was quite surreal. And I guess that, I guess it went beyond cricket. It went beyond bat and ball. It became about the characters, the emotions, and how uh, that was all connected. And I suppose we tapped into something universal. I mean, it was a bit of a leap of faith. I think it had something to do with the fact that this was the first show that came out of India on OTT. It was Amazon's first show. It was the first OTT show out of India. There was no precedent. There was no censorship, and so with that, it gave us a kind of freedom that was rare. And suddenly, I think for the first time coming out of India, there was characters who spoke in a very real way, and there was grit and honesty that we sort of tried to bring to the page. And I think this in the middle of all that, we sort of said a few uncomfortable truths that I don't think would have been possible in the more commercial forms of cinema that we have. And I think that's what perhaps connected with the people because it was so unshackled. We took some risks and it just kind of worked.
Well, and the Kenya International Sports Film Festival, we have a slogan that says sports unites people and sports
Yeah.
films inspire society. How do you see the sports narrative in giving storytelling, not only in India, but say in Africa and globally? And where do you see the impact of stories being told in sports?
That's a great line. Sports unites societies and sports films inspire society. Yes, and I think in places like India, Kenya, I think we really love our entertainment. And I think entertainment really travels further and it travels deeper than organized sports. I mean, I can only be really sure about India more than other places, but people may not always have access to proper training facilities or even the basics, but somewhere we all have access to stories, right? And that's where I think cinema and storytelling can make a difference. Sports films becomes a kind of they can become a kind of bridge where it's not only about the game, but they show what the game means, whether it's ambition and struggle, failure, redemption, and what you can really achieve at the end of it. Uh, and if you tell such stories through a very cultural lens, if you make it your own, you make it authentic, whether it's about an Indian boxer, whether it's a Kenyan runner, I think that can really resonate with the local audience and sort of inspire them. It becomes an aspiration, it becomes inspiration, and a young person who in I think rural India would have much likely more watched some form of entertainment than been to a stadium to see a game, and I think we can bridge that with films, and that's the kind of influence stories can have. You just plant the seed, and a dream sort of sprouts out of it.
Well, we're looking forward to your new web series coming up, Glory. This is the boxing story in Haryana that you have picked up. I'm just wondering, how is the transformation from a story that you did on cricket and now you're going to boxing, which is slightly different from a normal sport? How was the challenges between the two that you have done?
I think more than anyone, you should know, like the central emotion and core of any sport is all the same, right? But well, I can't say too much about Glory because it's still in production. But what really drew me in was, like you mentioned, Haryana. It's a really fascinating place, a state where, when it comes to sports, and 60% of all boxers and medal winners are from that one state. I think it's a similar huge percentage for wrestling as well. Sport is not just it's a way of life in this state, and it's that's pretty unique amongst anywhere else in India, is what I feel. Um, and it's all in small towns and villages. There's no real big city in Haryana per se, and in fact, my story is inspired by this place called Bhiwani, which is a tiny town which is completely steeped in boxing culture, and there's hundreds of training institutions of all sizes, like in someone's backyard to something like, looks like it's out of China at an Olympic level. And it's this combination of state-of-the-art infrastructure, but also meeting very rooted characters in a rooted setting and their ambition, the grit, and the world. These are all very fertile. It is a fertile landscape for telling a good story, right? And Glory, and I'll say this much, is the title is ironic. It's not, it's about the flip side of chasing glory, if you can say that. And but at the end of it, it's still it's a good old family drama. There's a legendary coach, his two sons, homecoming, and sort of series of events that pulls them into this really dangerous world where uh, crime and sports intersect. It's very different from Inside Edge, you're right, because Inside Edge was all about glamour, power, privilege, and just the rarefied air of hanging out with these superstar cricketers. And Glory, on the other hand, is all about survival. It's really rooted. It's about people who fight in the ring, but not only in the ring, but also outside of it, like just fighting to survive in life.
From a sportsman's perspective, as having played at the highest level, the emotions, the competition, the physical strain that we go through. Now, as a creator, how difficult or what challenges do you go through when you're producing such activities or sports scenes that are to be played?
Yeah, there's two aspects to it. So it's about how you capture the sport, and it's the other thing is the training for the actors, and how they have to get into character. So when we made Inside Edge from very early on, I wanted to shoot the cricket like real broadcast cricket, and this hadn't been done before. Not stylized, not in a very cinematic way. I just wanted to be so relatable that if someone was to walk into the room, you feel like a real cricket match is on. Like nothing should give that away. So we got the same professionals who cover actual cricket matches to come and shoot for us. It's the same camera operators, the same lenses, the same cameras, the same multicam, like a dozen cameras sort of doing a dozen feeds. But it gave a really real texture to the entire thing. And I felt like it even heightened the drama because you were intercutting between what is happening on the field with behind the scenes, right? So that was actually the easy part because these are all professional people who sort of executed it. The tough part of that wasn't the filming, but it was how much the actors sort of had to get, play. I mean, like a third professional like you would probably see through it, but I think they got very close to sort of being able to look like professional cricketers. And I really want to name like two people. Like I think Tanuj Virvani, who played Vayu, right? Uh, he, he- all of them had to practice really hard. And on the first day of practice, like I just he was standing in the back, I threw him a bit of a loosener, and yeah, I clean bowled him. I was like, oh man, I've just cast this guy as the lead big star batsman, and he just got bowled by my ball. So, but to his credit, he went all in. He got so obsessed with cricket that he is still playing. He still plays like I would say semi like in small leagues here and there, and he's generally addicted to it right now. And then there's also Siddhant Chaturvedi, who of course has gone on to become a very big star now, but he was playing a fast bowler back in the first couple of seasons of Inside Edge, and he also got into the skin of it so much. Like I had just seen, I asked him to do the action during an audition, and it looked pretty good to me. I said, okay, we can work with this, and we'll. But then again, his coach, who was I think an ex-Mumbai coach, he said by the end of the training for the first season, he said if you keep at it, you could play the IPL in about 6 months. And that's how deep they were. They went into it. That's how deeply they were committed to their training. And that's the tough part over here. With Glory, again, we have backed a lot of training. Like, we had some really good coaches this time from all over the world. Um, but I think for me, the big challenge this time has been about how to capture it on camera and in a at a truly sort of international level. We've seen several Indian films do boxing before, but I just want to, try and match it with the best that's out there to make it as visceral and as cinematic as I possibly can. So that's the big challenge in Glory for me.
Karan, your success in taking the Indian stories globally is phenomenal. Do you see yourself having a collaboration to do some African sports stories?
Absolutely, Asif. I think there's some excellent stories that come out of Africa. It is an absolute gold mine for stories, I would say. And there's so much opportunity there. We share so much culturally, and we are so deeply emotional about our sports. I think we have great storytelling DNA, and we have so much in common, whether it's the struggle, whether it's about community, whether it is, just the idea of resilience. Um, 100%. There's lots of stories to be told, which I think we should be very local in their detailing, but absolutely global emotionally, so that we can reach out to a broad audience.
Yeah, so we had on our sixth edition, we had Shimit Amin and
Yeah.
Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra join us, similar to what you're kindly doing it. And they were also quite excited to see what stories can be told working between the Indian filmmakers and the Kenyans. And remember, India and Kenya have a very healthy relationship that has started pre-independence. And so there's been a lot of business, commercial ventures that have taken place between the two countries. There was some Bollywood movies that did take place in the 80s. And so I'm quite intrigued and happy to hear that you would venture into and looking into how we can collaborate ahead to see whether some sports movies could be done on a co-production.
100%. Absolutely open to that.
Right. As an athlete, I know what goes behind the scenes in terms of the pressure, the politics, the psychology behind all that. You showed all of that beautifully well. I'm just trying to intrigue, how did you work on the athlete, the actor-athlete that played all those roles when you were directing it or when you were writing the scenes? How did you manage to put that all together?
Well, it feels a little silly saying this in front of you, but because you have lived the life and I'm only just trying to capture that on screen, right? But the silly part is that I've also played a little bit of sport, and of course, it's nothing professional or anything close to what you have achieved. But I feel that even at a local level, you end up experiencing a lot of emotions, right? When you're in the middle of the game and you have to sort of win, and there's so much rivalry, pride, all those emotions of teamwork. I think I just take those moments and I 100x them when I write about it. And that's what I think writers do. We steal from other people's lives, right? And we make them our own and put them into our characters and infuse our characters with, other people's little scraps of stories that we can find here and there. Plus, there's so much info, I think, in the public domain. I love how candid so many athletes get uh, in public fora. Like they're just very easy to steal from because they love pouring their heart out, I think. And it's just, and I enjoy watching them, and I enjoy sort of taking their life experiences and translating it onto the page, and then sort of getting actors to live that life.
Great, thanks. We have quite a few young filmmakers in Kenya and in Africa watching this interview right now who are intrigued and wish to do sports movies or documentaries or want to create a drama What advice would you give to these young filmmakers to try and achieve, well, hopefully as nearly as good as what you are doing?
I'm sure they'll go much further than that. But I think really it's about tapping into what is the core emotion, picking up a camera, and that camera can be just your cell phone, and start putting it together. The one thing this world is heading into some strange space with AI, right? And we're seeing more and more AI generated content coming out. But I think sports is the one thing that AI and artificial intelligence can never replace. Capturing sports on camera is something that can never get replaced. And I'm not just talking about light. I think just the idea of human endeavor and what we can achieve and just capturing that, these are things that will never go out of style. So look, making films right now is a very democratic process. I mean, you can just shoot on your phones, you can put it on YouTube, you can just get going and get started. But more than it's not about the technical aspect. It's about how do you find the story within the sport that you're trying to tell. If you have a good story, the sky is the limit after that. Like you just need to find the story in the sport that you want to talk about.
Well, now after Inside Age, Glory is about to be completed. You had Mirzapur, Rana Naidu. What's in the pipeline?
Uh, I'm just writing right now. I've been shooting for the last 2 years continuously, so I'm just taking a bit of a break and essentially um, writing things. And there's three, four things I'm writing. I'm at sports is very much part of one of the things I am working on. Um, and sports themed films will always have a special place in my heart. And let me put it this way: like if I were to choose for the rest of my life to watch films or watch live sports, I would choose sports any day. Like because the emotions you go through on a minute by minute basis when you're backing an athlete or a team, like it feels so authentic and so real. Like I just love that.
So any secrets right now on what's coming up in something in sports? Because I can see the passion is still there on
Oh
doing
yeah, yeah.
something
No, no.
good in
It's
sports.
too early to talk about anything right now, but soon.
Okay, but I'm happy to hear that you're going to continue because I think you have created a huge benchmark on what you did through Inside Age, and I'm sure Glory will not be anything less, and we're looking forward to when it's going to be launched sometime. Is it
Yeah, that'll be.
next year or?
Uh, yes, early next year, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm coming towards the end of our interview, and as has been a tradition, people enjoy giving the rapid fire questions. So if you allow me, I have about 10 questions for you for a one word or a
Okay.
two-word answer. Can I start?
Okay. Yes.
A sport you haven't filmed yet but want to.
This ties into your last question, doesn't it? I love. I think open wheel racing, any kind of motor racing.
The most underrated sports film ever made.
That's a tough one. I I don't think this film is underrated, but it's one of my absolute favorite sports films. It's Moneyball, and I recommend everyone should watch that.
A cricketer who deserves a full biopic series.
So many. I'm just gonna go with one of my favorites, Saurav Ganguly.
A script idea that keeps you awake at night.
I honestly don't get enough sleep because there's just so many ideas rattling around in my head. I don't have anything in particular, but because my dreams are all over the place with the ideas are keep bouncing around my head.
A habit of yours that helps you stay creative.
I think keeping fit and playing sports actually helps me stay creative. It really does.
An international series that you wish had an Indian adaptation.
Not an adaptation, but a take on something along the lines of Game of Thrones for a very deeply rich Indian history that we have, and just doing a Game of Thrones style series on that.
Cricket or boxing? Which is the hardest cinematography?
I would say boxing because simply there's so much of it already out there. So how do I make it elevated? How do I make it different? How do I make it better?
India versus Kenya, a sport you would love to see us compete in one screen.
Uh, this would have to be athletics. I would love to see Indians holding their own against like a Kenyan long distance runner.
One thing common between an athlete and an actor.
This answer might surprise a few people because who are not from the industry, but the answer is discipline. It's like a lot of people don't know the kind of discipline that actors have and how much they put in into their work, and we only hear the more the outlier stories, but every actor is super disciplined and dedicated to their craft.
Final question. Would you be open to developing a biopic around a Kenyan sports person for a global audience?
Of course, that goes without saying. I am always open to new cultures. I mean, you've seen that in my work across, like, I don't shy away from anything, exploring anything new. And I think that like doing something on like a Kipchoge or something would be amazing.
Thank you very much, Karan. I really appreciate on behalf of Kenya International Sports Film Festival, we really thank you for sparing your valuable time. This will inspire a lot of young filmmakers, and I would like to conclude maybe with a final comment from your good self.
Thank you very much for having me on this forum. Asif, I can't actually imagine and believe that I'm here speaking with you right now because I remember seeing some spectacular performance against the Aussies back in the day, and I'm really deeply honored. So, and please, I'd love to collaborate on anything I can going forward. So happy to do that.
Thank you very much, and we wish you all the very best on all your endeavors ahead. And I will keep in touch through your office on a few projects that we have in mind, and we hope we can collaborate for an Indo-Kenya
Absolutely.
production.
100%. Thank you.
Thank you. As we say, sports
Okay.
unites people, sports films inspire society. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.